This method doesn't make you successful. It makes you dangerous. It strips comfort. It removes excuses. And it turns ordinary men into something most people secretly fear. Before we begin, subscribe to this channel, not for updates, but because if you leave halfway through this video, you'll misunderstand the method and misuse it. Now listen carefully. This story is not about becoming better. It's about becoming unavoidable. Kaizen was invisible, not ignored, not bullied, not disrespected, just unseen. 32 years old, living in Seattle, working a decent job in operations management. He paid his bills, showed up on time, smiled when required. No chaos, no crisis, no drama, and no progress. Every day felt like a clean copy of the day before. Same commute, same desk, same thoughts. At night, Kaizen would lie in bed, staring at the ceiling, feeling something he couldn't explain. Not sadness, stagnation. The slow horror of realizing life was moving forward, while he wasn't. Kaizen wasn't lazy. He had tried. Gym memberships, morning routines, online courses, journals half filled with promises. Every attempt followed the same pattern. Strong start, short bursts, quiet collapse. No explosion, no breakdown, just stopping. And the worst part, no one noticed when he quit, because average quitting is socially acceptable. It blends in. One evening, Kaizen stayed late at the office. Everyone else had gone home. The building was silent except for the hum of lights. On the wall hung a framed Japanese calligraphy piece, left behind by a former executive. Kaizen had passed it every day without reading it. This time, he stopped. It read, "Guilu hei kanjo yori zhang niaru." Discipline stands above emotion. Something about it felt hostile, not inspiring, not warm, cold, absolute, unforgiving. Kaizen didn't know why, but the phrase irritated him. And irritation is often the first sign of truth. Most men believe change comes from intensity, motivation, pain, breakthrough moments. That's why they wait. For the right mood, the right time, the right reason. Kaizen had waited his entire life, and waiting had quietly trained him to be weak. Because every time you wait for emotion to act, you teach your nervous system who's in control. And emotion is a terrible leader. The Japanese understood this centuries ago. That's why their discipline systems weren't built on desire. They were built on obedience. Kaizen went home and searched the phrase. It led him into an obscure corner of Japanese philosophy. Zen monasteries, samurai households, old training manuals never meant for modern comfort. One principle kept appearing: simple, unromantic, brutal. Action precedes feeling, not the other way around. In the West, this sounds backwards. In Japan, it was law. You didn't train because you felt ready. You trained because it was time. And time didn't care how you felt. Kaizen discovered the core idea behind the method. The most dangerous discipline systems do not rely on motivation. They remove choice entirely. No decision, no debate, no negotiation. In traditional Japanese training, discipline was not a habit. It was a condition of existence. You didn't ask, "Do I feel like training today?" That question didn't exist, and without the question, resistance had nowhere to live. Kaizen realized something uncomfortable. Every time he quit before, his brain had been practicing escape. "I can stop anytime. I'll restart tomorrow. This isn't permanent." Freedom felt good, but freedom had kept him average. The Japanese method did the opposite. It made discipline irreversible. Once you entered the system, leaving wasn't dramatic. It was shameful, and shame, when structured correctly, is powerful. Kaizen didn't start with a goal. He started with a rule. Every morning at 5:30 a.m., he would sit on the floor in silence for 20 minutes. No journaling, no affirmations, no progress tracking, just sitting. No matter how he felt, no matter how tired, no matter how pointless it seemed, not because it mattered, but because obedience mattered. The first morning was miserable. The second was worse. By the fifth day, something strange happened. His emotions stopped arguing. The human brain only resists when it believes resistance works. Once it realizes protest is useless, it goes quiet. Kaizen noticed the silence. Not peace, not happiness, silence. And in that silence, execution became easier, not enjoyable, just automatic. This is the moment discipline becomes dangerous. Because once action detached from emotion, nothing can stop it. Kaizen didn't tell anyone what he was doing. But people noticed. He spoke less, reacted slower, stopped explaining himself. He left gatherings early, arrived at work before everyone, stopped joking about being tired. People began saying things like, "You're different lately. Relax a bit. You're taking life too seriously." Kaizen wasn't. He was taking obedience seriously, and obedience unsettles people who live by mood. Kaizen thought discipline would make him calmer. Instead, it made him heavier, more grounded, more immovable. But this was only the surface layer of the method. Once obedience is established, the Japanese system introduces the second phase, identity replacement. This is where average men stop being relatable and start becoming something else entirely. Motivation creates starters. Discipline creates finishers. Obedience creates monsters. By the 10th morning, Kaizen stopped asking questions, not because he had answers, but because the part of him that used to question was losing authority. He still felt tired, still felt resistance, still felt doubt, but those feelings no longer controlled movement, and that terrified him. Because for the first time in his life, his actions were not asking permission from his emotions. This was not self-improvement. This was identity erosion. Western discipline tries to add things, add motivation, add confidence, add productivity. Japanese discipline removes. It removes choice. It removes negotiation. It removes the illusion of freedom. Kaizen discovered a line from an old Zen training scroll. Before mastery, the self must become smaller. At first, he misunderstood it. He thought it meant humility. It didn't. It meant less personality, less preference, less opinion, less mood. The samurai were not expressive men. They were precise men. Kaizen finally saw it clearly. Laziness wasn't his enemy. Attachment was. Attachment to comfort. Attachment to identity. Attachment to being seen a certain way. Every time he quit in the past, he wasn't protecting his body. He was protecting his self-image. The Japanese method attacked that image directly. It asked a brutal question. Who are you when no one is watching and nothing feels good? Kaizen didn't like the answer, so the system demanded he destroy it. The second phase of the method was simple, unforgiving, almost insulting. Do the same thing, at the same time, in the same way, every day. No optimization, no variation, no creativity. Western minds panic here. They crave novelty. They need stimulation. They want progress to feel exciting. The samurai believed excitement was weakness. Consistency was king. Kaizen's mornings became mechanical. Wake, sit, breathe, leave. No reflection, no analysis. And something strange happened. Time slowed down. Modern men live addicted to novelty. New goals, new plans, new identities. Every new beginning feels powerful. But power that resets every week is fake. The Japanese method strips novelty because novelty feeds ego, and ego cannot sustain discipline. Kaizen noticed his urge to change things. Maybe I should add journaling. Maybe I should optimize the routine. Maybe I should try something harder. Every urge was ignored, not resisted, ignored. Because the rule was not improvement. The rule was obedience without emotion. At around day 20, the mind fought back. Thoughts became sharper. What's the point? Is this even working? You're wasting time. But the body kept moving, and when the body moves without belief, belief eventually follows. This is the secret modern psychology hides. The mind is a follower, not a leader. The samurai trained the body first. The mind had no choice but to align. Kaizen stopped recognizing himself, not physically, internally. The voice that used to complain was quieter. The urge to explain himself disappeared. He no longer needed validation for effort. He was becoming closed, not emotionally, operationally. His world narrowed, and in narrowing, it intensified. People sense when someone no longer needs approval. It disrupts social balance. Kaizen's coworkers felt it. Friends felt judged without being judged. He wasn't preaching, wasn't flexing, wasn't correcting anyone, but his presence felt heavier because disciplined men act as mirrors, and most people don't like what they see. Kaizen encountered a word used to describe elite warriors and craftsmen: shibumi. Quiet excellence, effortless seriousness, no display. A man with shibumi doesn't announce discipline. He doesn't explain himself. He simply does not break. This was the goal, not success, not admiration, unbreakability. One morning, Kaizen missed his alarm. For the first time, his eyes opened at 5:52. Old Kaizen would have said, "Too late. Tomorrow." Instead, he sat down immediately. No guilt, no anger, just action. And in that moment, something irreversible happened. He no longer identified as someone trying to be disciplined. He was disciplined, even when imperfect. That distinction changes everything. Kaizen had built obedience. He had stripped identity. He had killed novelty. But the final phase remained, the most dangerous one. The phase the samurai reserved for men who could not turn back. Discipline alone does not create monsters. Purpose without emotion does. And once Kaizen learns this final rule, there will be no return to average life. The disciplined man doesn't look intense. He looks inevitable. By the time Kaizen reached the final phase, discipline no longer felt heroic. It felt normal. That's how the Japanese method hides its danger. It doesn't announce transformation. It erases resistance so quietly that one day you wake up and realize, I don't fight myself anymore. But this was only the foundation. The samurai never stopped at obedience. Obedience creates soldiers. Monsters requires something else. Western culture teaches purpose as passion. Follow what excites you. Do what you love. Chase what lights you up. The samurai believed this was childish. They had a rule far colder. Purpose must survive boredom, pain, and meaninglessness. Kaizen discovered this rule, written in a brutally simple line. Emotion is a visitor. Duty is permanent. This was the missing piece. Discipline alone made him consistent, but purpose without emotion made him unstoppable. Motivation depends on feeling. Feeling depends on chemistry. Chemistry fluctuates. The samurai saw motivation as weakness because it introduced randomness. If you need to feel ready, you've already surrendered control. Kaizen noticed something uncomfortable. On days he felt strong, discipline was easy. On days he felt empty, discipline mattered more. So the method removed emotional dependence entirely. The purpose became mechanical, non-negotiable, cold. Kaizen learned a word that terrified him. Giri, duty without reward, responsibility without recognition, action without emotional payoff. Samurai did not act because they wanted to. They acted because it was required. No celebration, no self-talk, no inner hype, just execution. This is what separates disciplined men from dangerous men. Dangerous men act even when nothing inside them agrees. There was a morning when Kaizen felt nothing. No resistance, no motivation, no pride, just emptiness. Old Kaizen would have panicked. This means I'm burned out. This means something's wrong. Instead, he moved, and the strangest thing happened. His performance didn't drop, it sharpened. Without emotion, there was no internal noise, no self-evaluation, no self-awareness, no doubt, only execution. This is when the transformation locked in. Kaizen became quieter, not socially, internally. He stopped narrating his life. No inner commentary, no mental debate, no identity maintenance. This silence is what most men fear, because silence exposes weakness. But once weakness is burned away, silence becomes power. The samurai trained silence before battle, not to calm nerves, to remove the self. The method always ends with a test, not dramatic, not cinematic, ordinary. Kaizen was offered an easier path, less effort, same pay, more comfort. The old him would have rationalized. You deserve rest. You've earned it. This is balance. Instead, he asked one question. Does this align with who I am now? The answer was no, so he declined. No emotion, no explanation, no hesitation. That's when he knew. The method had completed itself. A monster is not aggressive. A monster is inevitable. He doesn't rely on feeling good. He doesn't rely on belief. He doesn't rely on circumstances. He moves because movement is his nature. Kaizen wasn't special. That's the terrifying part. The method doesn't require talent. It requires surrender. Surrender of ego. Surrender of preference. Surrender of emotional authority. Most men refuse. That's why most men stay average. The Japanese method is not for everyone. It costs comfort, validation, flexibility. Social approval. You will be misunderstood. You will be called extreme. You will be told to relax. The samurai accepted this cost willingly, because the alternative was worse. Living as a man who negotiates with himself. Kaizen didn't become happier. He became stable. He didn't feel powerful. He became reliable. And reliability, over time, becomes dominance. Not over others, over life. Average men wait to feel ready. Disciplined men act, but monsters no longer have a choice.